Welcome to the first episode of the Southern in Hospitality podcast. My name is Perks, and for those who don't know, I am a writer and creative from Atlanta, Georgia. But my day job for the past 15 or so years was in the restaurant industry. And what the Southern in Hospitality podcast is about, I'm pretty much going to just be interviewing restaurant professionals, people who got their start in this industry, specifically in the South, and how they made their way up, a little about their journey, what they specialize in, what the industry taught them, and social things around, like celebrities opening restaurants, all these happenings that is nothing actually catered to us in regards to this field. So, especially with the role that Black people have played in Southern hospitality, I really wanted to touch on this and just give people in this space, room to tell their own stories and encourage others on this journey. And, hey, this is something a lot of people in this industry specifically never really saw themselves moving up in this. So I want people who may have started out as bussers or, bartenders or whatever that it was. Maybe they stayed in the industry or maybe they moved on to something else. But I really just want to highlight what they learned in restaurants, okay? So my first guest, who I'm so excited about because she's absolutely amazing. She is someone that I've known for, I want to say like 12 years. It's over 10. We're like 2013.
Yeah.
Like 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Wow.
So I know, right?
Wow.
So we got our start working in Barcelona Wine Bar together in Emmett Park. Her name is Janeen. She's going to tell you a lot more about herself. But Janeen is the person to know in Atlanta. I always say this. She's the person to know when it comes to wine. She is so knowledgeable about this. I mean, you throw anything out there wine related, I could probably tell you the difference between a Pinot Noir and a Chardonnay, but she can get into where it's made. She can smell it and tell you where it's from. I mean, all these other things. So I'm going to cut my introduction short and go ahead and let Janeen tell a little bit about herself.
Hey, thank you for having me. One. We worked together at Barcelona, and I got hired as the wine steward because in 2015 I became a certified sommelier. So I passed my level 2 with the Court of Master Sommeliers and literally got the job with Barcelona the same week. So, but before that, I worked in restaurants since 2006 and started kind of small with Ted's Montana Grill, which was interesting because it was very specific to like classic dining. It wasn't a bar that had flavored anything. Like everything we made had to be pretty classic. So I got to know the basics of bartending there, and then worked my way up to a larger restaurant that did like wine on draft. So started as a SA there because my wine knowledge was not as good as it needed to be at the moment.
And real quick note for those who aren't familiar with the restaurant industry, SA is...
Oh, so a server assistant. So I could not talk to, I could talk to tables, but I couldn't take their order, or I was the person that bussed the table, brought silverware, ran drinks, ran food, whatever. But I was really good at it. So eventually they let me become a server, and that's when I realized how good I was not. And so it was interesting. But that's how I got into where I am today. So restaurants helped me become the person that I am today. So I work in retail now. I sell wine in Emmett Park. I don't want to get too deep into it,
Heard.
Yeah.
Okay, great introduction. We appreciate you. And so what made the hospitality, the industry, the one for you? And why do you keep choosing it?
It's interesting because I feel like I'm an introvert in an extrovert's career, but I am really good at it. I went to Georgia State and majored in public relations. So marketing and anything that had to do with science and math just was not for me. but I could understand people and what they wanted. So it started with beverage first and wanting to become a bartender and knowing like how much people made and watching movies and making it look cool and things like that. So it was a great way to make money um, in the industry. But yeah, I think there's a point where you become so good at it that you don't realize that there are other things that you could possibly do. And when I started crashing my friends' blind tasting groups, I think that's when I realized that there was something else that I could do. So I guess I found my passion within the hospitality industry. Um, but it's just what I do well, and I understand people very well, and the joy of like making sure that they have everything they need, or have found some new information, or had some new experience, like that means a lot. Hmm.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can attest to that. You are an introvert, but
Yeah,
you are also you do transform, which a lot of people in this industry do.
yeah,
We kind of transform when we're on the floor. It's like,
it's
oh, I have
crazy.
to talk to people and move around.
Yeah, it's
And
you take over the space. It's like you treat it as your home, and I know that there's some people that, especially myself, that will put everything into work and do the best that you can, do the best job that you can do all the time, because that is the space, and that's what you want to, portray to someone else coming in. So,
of
mhm.
course, of course. So thank you, my dear. And so I know when you got into the industry, like you said, you majored in public relations. So, and then it kind of took a little turn,
Hard
a
turn.
hard turn.
Hard
Okay.
turn. Well, I didn't really know what I was gonna do. Well, I went to school for music, if you can imagine. I wanted to
Really?
be like A&R,
I can do that.
so like artists and repertoire at a label. So I took like music management classes and radio classes, and ended up minoring in that. But I did a few internships at radio stations, and I did a internship at 88.5, which is the Georgia State, which is the largest college radio station, I think, in the Southeast for sure. But it just never really panned out. Like it was fun and exciting, but like in the back of my mind, I still had to go to a job that was paying my bills, and I kind of just, I guess, got lucky and found what I wanted to do within it. Because I don't know if what I would be doing if I wasn't selling wine. It's weird.
Which is interesting because that was going to be one of my next
I
questions.
know
Is
it's weird. I'm like, what would I do? Because with wine, it's like you keep learning. There's always something new, but I don't even know. Like
not a history teacher or
I don't know. Well, like what kind of history teacher? Like kids? I don't like
middle
kids.
school black.
Middle school, like I could see that, I guess, or I guess maybe I would have been a basketball coach or something.
I could totally see you being
Yeah, because I did play
basketball.
basketball in high school. So if I would have continued on that path, I probably would have still been in the athletic industry, I guess. But I don't know.
All right, but you know what? You ended up where you were meant to be,
That's what
where
it is.
people love you and appreciate you. And I know I do for sure because Janeen has saved my behind when tables would ask, "Hey, I want this wine paired with this," and I'm like, "Man, let me go grab our wine stirrer really
That's
quick."
it. That's what I'm there
Because and
for.
she just hop on. She'd have like 4 or 5 tables. And you're like, "Give me a second." Because you
That's
talk
it.
to her, she got like 3 bottles in one hand, a wine opener in one. And she's like managing, like talking to
All you have to
everyone.
do is walk by the table to let like hands full and just let them know, hey, I'll be right back. I got this. Like I want you to see what's going on right now. But yes.
So, what would you? I know a lot of people aren't familiar with wine. I know Barcelona taught me everything that I knew about it
Mhm.
because I had no idea. What wine tips would you give someone when they're going out who's like not too familiar with
Mm.
wine? Because people go out and they'll say, "Oh, or they may be familiar with like Stella or something like that,"
Yeah,
and they may
yeah,
go to a restaurant. And it's like, okay, well, what is this Zinfandel? What is this like? What
yeah.
do you know?
Oof. It's always. helpful to ask someone. But if you are like an avid, like I like to drink wine. Not saying that you like to learn about wine, you like to, talk tidbits, like you choose wine as your beverage. It's helpful to you to understand what kind of wine you gravitate towards. So that's as easy as saying, I like big, bold red wines. I like white wines with bubbles or rosé with bubbles. Like I like that. So at least you have something to translate to the others. And then eventually, as you go on your journey, you learn more words that you could use, and hopefully, the person that is on the receiving end of those words can understand it. So what that means is there's a respectable wine person at said restaurant that can help you through that. But it is as easy as understanding what you like first. Um, yeah, knowing how much money you want to spend, throw that in there as well. It just helps somebody, kind of narrow down what will be running through their head, which is a full wine list. So, especially like the Barcelona list, that was a very intense list that I still think is one of the best lists in the city because it has so much emphasis on Spanish wines and these producers that have been making wines historically for over 150 years. So it's such a good list to play with. But it was a lot. It definitely was a lot. And you get people to come back when you have someone that can explore that list and share it with your guests. And that's what creates the better experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I know because Barcelona did make it was majority Spanish wines, so it was like learning that, and then when I made the transition into management, and I went to Serena, it was Italian wines, and I felt like, oh wow, this is an entirely different ball game because it's so for me, I had to learn. Okay, it doesn't just matter like knowing what kind of wine you like. Know what restaurant you're going to as well. If you're going to a Spanish restaurant, do a little research on your Spanish wines, like because you may say I want like a Cab or a Syrah or whatever, and it's like okay, you want old school Rioja, you want Granada. He's like, wait, huh? What are you talking about? Because like Barcelona, it has such an extensive list. What like over 300 wines? Is it?
Probably more than that. Yeah.
And having to learn and sell that list is complicated, and it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. So just throw out like if you're going to an Italian restaurant, Italian wines are specifically different. Like I can't explain the difference between
and
them.
it's hard to navigate them because most of the words people just don't understand, like Verdicchio de Castello de Jesse, like what is this white wine? Can I have this with my pasta? Like that's what people want to know. But also when you can have them explore something or have them have something new, that's what you want to get. So that's why it's important to understand everything because they have Chardonnay, they have Cab in Italy. So you can easily sell that, but it's really about having that full Italian experience. So yeah, Italy is a beast.
Yes. I did I worked at I don't know if I was an Attica pasta for a little bit, and they did a tasting for what's it, Salvatore Ferragamo. His son makes wine, so they did the tasting there.
Okay.
And we tried, and I was like, I'm gonna stay back into what I know. These are some beautiful wines. I mean, just the entire event was gorgeous, but yeah, I took a step back because it was
a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah, grapes that's named after towns that's in another part of the world. Like it's a lot. It really is.
What I learned when I started at Barcelona, they said like name like 5 grapes. Also knowing your grape varietals is very important because like they said name like 5 red grapes, and I was like red seedless, you remember red globe seedless. I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, no, we had to learn. It's like no, Pinot Noir is a grape, Cabernet is a grape, Syrah is a grape. All these things are like.
Even if you don't know grapes, like I try to describe things like, well, the one thing that people don't drink anymore now, which is milk. So I'm always asked, they're like, oh, I'm looking for a red wine for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, is it light, like Pinot Noir or skim milk? Is it full, like whole milk or cab? Does it have a lot of oat to it? So it helps people to understand. And, or if you threw that out to somebody else, hopefully they would understand that as well. But I see a lot of texture with wine. There's a lot of texture involved. So most of the time when people like things, it's the texture or the feeling that it leaves. And so with big bold red wines, that's what makes your mouth feel dry and tannic. And some people just don't like that. I don't like that. But then there's also wines that have a decent amount of acid, like, like Chocolina or something that feels almost bubbly, but sometimes that acid can be too much. So you gotta, find the sweet spot and help people maybe understand something that they didn't know they were thinking about.
Absolutely. Mouthfeel is very important. I know that's such wine terms are so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, what mouthfeel? Velvet. Does it feel like velvet?
Fuzzy. Crunchy.
Yeah. The wine has this. Like you said, it has texture. So those are things to fill out. So if you had to pick a restaurant in Atlanta that's had a wine list that, like your dream wine list with the places that you've been to so far, what would you think?
In Atlanta? I mean, I think that, oh man, there's a lot of good restaurants with great wine lists. I think Lucien has a really great wine list. They focus on very classic wines that are made in a way that we see more and more often, like more organic and biodynamic producers who approach things more holistically and don't add a lot of chemicals to their farming. Like I said, I think Barcelona has a really great wine list that focuses on Spain. And as far as an extensive amount of Spain, they definitely do the better job in the city. And then I guess I would have to mix it up with somebody that just does whatever they want.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I don't. This is how much I don't go out either. Like I don't go anywhere.
You go with the purpose.
I go with the purpose. Like if somebody invites me somewhere, I'll go. I actually go to the same restaurants a lot. Like my wife works at Tiny Lou's, so I'm always there for whatever reason. We frequent Boca Lupa a lot. I like their energy and how they treat people, and they have a list that is concise and short, but still gets to the point too. Yeah.
And you just went to New York, right?
Yeah. When did I go to New York? That was July. Yeah.
Did you try to get wine up there?
Yeah. Well, I was there with Wines of Sicily, so they did a great job, just like kind of dining us that evening. So we had some really great wines from some of the producers that were there that evening. And then I attended a like a wine tasting that they had for all Sicilian wine, but we only went to one restaurant. Like I didn't really go out. I had pizza one night, and then the next night they wine and dined us. So I think I had enough wine for that evening for the whole trip.
Heard.
But there's my favorite wine bar is in New York. It's called Terroir. And it's, if you can imagine like a dive wine bar, that's it. And they have a manifesto of wine that they consider their menu, and it is overwhelming. But it's like it's for the nerdiest kind of wine person that you can think of. So you can just say something out loud and they have it. So that it's that, but it also has a very like dive bar stickers on the wall, just ridiculous sayings. Like it's a very comfortable place. So,
and I guess just so that I would know, what is your favorite wine?
I like anything with bubbles.
Come on, bubbles.
Wherever it's from, Champagne from France, Cava. I love high acid, so grapes like Chenin Blanc. And Sauvignon Blanc is my weakness. Chenin Blanc is my love. And then anything with bubbles for sure.
Okay. Definitely, I'm a bubbles girl too. So I definitely. What was it? The Lambrusco, I think. Was it you or someone put me on to that one? Lambrusco. Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that this could happen. It's like, yeah, Lambrusco.
It combined everything. So
that's what they needed it for. It's so good.
All right. So, that's kind of a typical question, but What was one of your worst experiences in the restaurant industry?
Like working, uh, working.
Or you can say the best. If you didn't have a worst, you can list the best one.
I have I have one like reoccurring event in my head that I see all the time. And there was a moment when I was working at Two and had a collision with a bartender next to a table, and I had 4 drinks on my beverage tray, and looked. It was like all the moments I'm still trying to piece together. But like I didn't look away. There's no looking away. I think there was a shift in my hand, but I still had the tray. But where the tray was, I did not see her leaning to get something out of the drawer. So when I hit the corner, all I see is her, because I hit corner. I say corner at home. I say corner everywhere. And if you work in a restaurant, you have to say corner. You have to be vocal, like, and it's easy because I play basketball, so you have to be like, guard, hit here, corner, here, behind,
sharp,
everything. So I say corner, but I think at the same time she hears it and pops up and into my tray, and all the drinks right onto the table, like, and it was not a fun experience. I still think about it to this day. I don't even think they got their appetizers yet. They weren't like just got there. I remember one of the drinks was like a Crown Royal drink, and then there was a beer, a glass of wine. Like that's how vivid it was. That's how vivid it was. You can imagine someone having to leave a restaurant before they even got dinner, smelling like Crown Royal and red wine. So
I already know you had to hear it about that Crown Royal from the bar.
Oh man. I already know. And this is when things were flowing. This is everything before the pandemic. It was very free flowing. But yeah, that is a vivid memory in my head, and probably the worst experience I've had in a restaurant. I've seen other people have really bad experiences. I've seen guests have really bad experiences. So it just depends on what kind of.
And see, things like that, like, I think some people, when they go to restaurants and they have terrible experiences, it's, well, this is going to affect the tip because my food was late or drink spilled. It's like, first of all, we have nightmares about these things. Yeah. Like, if I still have tables, like, I would wake up in the middle of the night, like, crap, table 2 ordered ice cream. It's like the restaurant is closed.
It's closed. It's done. I can no longer get that ketchup for table 12.
But it's on your mind. Yep. It's like, and they're probably like, I'm never going there again. And they don't understand how personal we take a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. Like, you may go and it's like, okay, well, everything is messed up from beginning to end. It's like, man, the hostess probably might have just gotten in a car accident. Think about their car. The whole back of house probably drunk from the night before. Mm-hmm. All the front of house probably just as drunk from the night before. So it's like everyone's having their own issue. It's just so many. And the one thing about restaurants that a lot of people don't realize, which is like when people open restaurants, I don't think they realize how many moving parts it is.
Yes.
Like, you will think, okay, like, all right, it's just one big pretty picture. Honey, if one thing goes wrong, it could all blow out. Like, let the hood in the kitchen not be ventilating enough, your kitchen shut down. Yep. That's going to lead to then everyone's. It's
I think a lot of people just think, oh, here's space. I have a person that knows how to cook. They're gonna cook for us. Like, that's all we got to do is just find some people to serve it out. But like, there's so much more behind opening a restaurant, and I think as someone, you asked like what I would want to do. Opening a cafe is something that I look forward to doing in the future. I really think that like the whole fine dining portion of the program will still exist, but like I would think like maybe 2 to 5% of these restaurants that open last because they don't have the client. They have the clientele at first, but they don't have the staff that can keep up with the standards for whatever said restaurant. And I think we're at a point in life where we just need substance, and we need it at a decent time. It doesn't have to be fancy, and we want to keep going back to these places over and over again. You see people that open up places like that, but to have sort of that kind of overall kind of still fine dining, I guess not even fine dining, but just like decent dining aspect, because it's either fast casual or it's fine dining. There's no in between. So like decent dining is something that we all need. Maybe I'm just started something, but having a nice little wine list that somebody cares about, that goes with the food. Your food menu is kind of short and concise, but like it's good and people want to keep coming back to it. You don't cater to families, but a family is okay to come. You may not like kids, but your kids can come. Having that outside space. So it's we have to change how we think about restaurants and what people need, and how we deliver them, and start with that. But like, if you don't know how to open, if you've never opened a restaurant or worked in a restaurant, like you should never ever think about. I don't have kids, but I will tell like my wife's nieces and nephews, like you're gonna work at Chick-fil-A when you get old enough. You're gonna work in the food industry so you can understand people and how to talk to people and how to be patient. Because I think it is necessary, and kind of key to how we treat people. I would say, like, I know that I will help a stranger if I have the time to do so. I'm always trying to clean up after any party, even if I got invited. Like, I'm always trying to do that. And so it just is I think it's a trait that we need to instill in a lot more people.
Absolutely. I think you touched on something when you talked about like decent dining. One place that, and you said like with a cafe, one place that I think does that really well, or they used to do it really well, was Inman Perk. I think that concept was they had a short menu, coffee, Danishes, and they had a bar. Remember, I don't know if they still have the bar.
They did reinstate the bar.
Yes. So it was a great chill spot. You could go get a meal. You could have a meeting, whatever. And they still had that little outside space. It wasn't too much.
Exactly.
It was just enough to get people in. People don't want to stay there all day. It's you come, you go, That was a great thing. I think Atlanta, and this is so you don't be afraid to hurt some feelings here. Because I want to talk about, you talk about fine dining, and I wanted to talk about how Atlanta and fine dining have just absolutely changed, and what we expect for it now. Like, every place is saying we're fine dining. Every place is, just because they have lamb chops on the menu. Lamb chops and a grass wall and hookah does not mean it's fine dining. No. If your staff does not have the knowledge of what it even takes. Like, I got out of, I decided to get out of restaurants, but then I gave it one more go. I also was just going through some stuff. So I said, I'm going to give it one more go. I've never worked for Black-owned restaurants. That's always been my own thing. And for me, it was more of, I don't like working for Black-owned restaurants because I saw enough to know that experience is not going to live up to my expectations. Yeah. Like, I got into the restaurant industry in 2008, right out of high school. I tried, everyone was going to college, and I was like, you know what? No, I want to get in the restaurant industry. I got a fine dining job, so I worked at a country club, and I worked through that. But it was, I said, I like people. I like, what I get to do. I like to serve them. But starting off so young, I was 18 with I'm talking about like fine dining country club is completely different from every other place you can go to. I'm talking about we had an entire 6-hour shift just to polish silverware. Like, that's just it. You had another, and then I used to pleat tables too, like with the table pleats. We had to do that by hand. Wow. That was a whole nother 6-hour shift. You had, and those people didn't even work the banquets. They just came to do that. Wow. You had a whole nother shift that came and did everything else. So it's that level. Like, we had 2 weeks worth of training. And so it's very few places now that invest that amount of time and money into their training, because they're like, well, we got the money to start it and people will come and, and we'll be popular enough so they'll keep coming back. But it's like, no one knows anything about the menu. You ask someone, what's your favorite drink? Margarita. Oh, you got a whole cocktail list. Give me something. It's like, what's in this? Who knows the allergies and that? So when I started working at the Black-owned restaurant, my first week there, it was at a brunch spot in College Park. I'm pretty sure. I think you know where I work. Okay. But
I have an idea.
Yeah. So my first week there, I told him, hey, I don't think this is going to work for me. I had never had to break up fights in a restaurant.
Oh, with staff or with
both?
Oh, wow.
I had to break up a fight between the sous chef and one of the cooks. Like the guy took the cook took his apron off and was like, "I'm done. I'm going outside." The sous chef took his, and like, mind you, the kitchen is like open kitchen, so the entire restaurant can see the whole kitchen. He comes around and the sous chef like takes his apron off and like charges at him like he's about to swing at him in front of the restaurant. The hostess stand is right here. Mind you, on a 2-hour wait every single day, all the time. So people sitting here waiting for their food, and they see the sous chef chasing the line cook out the door. They're scrambling up, get. I'm like, I don't think
this is not gonna work.
But and then it was another fight between like some guests. They were about to fight my general manager because I was just like the hospitality manager. I just made sure people got their seat. And I handle table. You know me. I handle table issues. Okay. I don't do all that stuff. Okay. I was just trying to make sure you leave with a smile on your face.
Okay.
One of the guys came downstairs because they had an upstairs and a downstairs. One of the guys, name was Charlie. He had like a handful of food. He's running food. I'm talking to a table. He comes by. He's like whispers in my ear. He's like, "They're about to fight upstairs." I was like, "I'll be right back, y'all." I haul upstairs.
Appreciate that warning.
I haul upstairs because, mind you, it was a birthday party who was coming in, and I had already been talking to them. We knew that we could not accommodate that birthday party. I was trying to work with them to get, so that's why I was downstairs trying to move some stuff around to get them in. My GM, and I'm not saying that she just did not have all the door experience, but she didn't realize that I had already handled the situation. So she came in a little aggressively, and his girlfriend did not take that well. And the whole family, the whole party was ready to bounce on the staff. Yeah. So I come upstairs and I see his family mind you, all this is in front of the kitchen. So they're right in front of the expo line. I see his people right here. I see my GM and the whole hostess staff and some more people in the little server area. It's like a divide. I come in like, hey, let's take this outside. Because we got people in, like, it's just nothing's moving. Everybody's about to fight. Wow. Move them outside. Whole fight moved out there. GM was like, "I'm about to call the police." They escalated. It escalated even more quickly because they're like, "You do that to a black man? It's his birthday." They weren't from here. And in situations like that, I'm like, this is why management in restaurants is so important. Because it's every single, and I couldn't even be mad at them. Because every single thing from the time that they stepped foot into there was wrong. Mm-hmm. The reservation, it was promised, it was, just everything. And I'm like, if we had handled this better as a staff, if it wasn't just, but that's one of the things when it comes to black-owned businesses like that, they're not really lenient with a lot of things. It's, one, the reservation system usually sucks. Yeah. You may have a reservation, but you still wait an hour and a half. Yeah. And I'm not saying that other places don't do that, because one thing that Barcelona that we all know is known for is their wait time. They used to have 2-hour wait, and I used to remember I had my section in the dining room, and I used to be standing there like saying, "Excuse me," by the door, like, I don't know why y'all waiting in this line. But one thing that they did very well was take care of their guests while they were waiting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was, we have an hour to hour wait. Here's a round of free sangrias. Or by the time you get to your table, we've already talked to your server. We have this coming out for you, free charcuterie, appetizers. Here's some tokens next time you come. A few things on us. They took care of their guests. So I think my question for you, do you think that black-owned restaurants drop the ball when it comes to things like fine dining, when it comes to things like guest appreciation?
I think that's one of the problems with the success of many of them. There's always a divide or a missing piece that keeps everyone together, and it's probably just the management. I think most of the time the people who start it or open it up usually act as the managers, but they aren't hardly there. They'll hire someone who doesn't really have the experience that's needed. But it starts, we all have to start somewhere, and it's interesting when you think about working at restaurants and how many faces that look like me work there that actually care about what's going on and can take in the information. And I feel like a lot of people just, treat restaurant work as that. I come here, I check in, I take orders, You tip me at the end. Hopefully everything goes well in between that, and then I go home. And I think we have to get out of that mentality. Um, and it's the stipulations of uh, like everyone has to be here to sit down, or you know, being. I think there needs to be a level of hospitality and understanding to make things work. You have to be accommodating. Um, and it's interesting because the restaurants are always so busy. Like you're on a 2 hour wait. Like that means that people want to actually be here.
Yeah.
So let's just treat everybody nice. And I think a lot of people just get angry and don't want to do their job. And that sucks because they're not interested. They don't like people. Uh, you just hire the wrong people first and foremost, and you have to have the training behind it. Like you can't train somebody to like people. You can train somebody to take orders and understand the allergies and this, that, and the third. But like if they just don't like people, that's going to be a problem. So there's a whole lot of places to start with it, but I think sometimes it's just the grandness of a lot of the restaurants that open up and the entertainment aspect of it, like the entertainment dining. Like I don't like to go to places that you can also order hookah. Like I
Don't
don't.
go to hookah. If I see hookah anywhere, I do not go.
It's just like I don't need all of this extra entertainment because one, that means that this table's not going to go anywhere. Like why I don't want to be here for 4 hours. You don't want me to be here for 4 hours. Like what why do you have all of this together? So
Why is this?
why? Like there's
It's
a
like a bundle
space.
deal.
It's weird. There's a space that just opened up on my side of town. No names needed, but some of the some of the reviews I hear is like it literally looks just like a rental space. Like you could rent the space and have a party, and the only place to sit is the actual bar. Oh. So it's a big bar in a large warehouse that looks like it used to be, who knows, a drugstore or something.
Sure. Okay.
And I'm like, they clearly had this entertainment aspect in their mind because you can probably watch games or watch football or whatever it is and have parties like that and rent the space out, and they were banking on that. But in the backside, they probably, who knows if they even care about what they're putting out. Like all the food is always the same. Any sliders, wings, any sports bar you go to is always the same, but it's just, you know, there is just more. There just needs to be a little bit more, a little bit more try, a little bit more, uh, I guess, thought behind what you're opening to. Just because you find somebody that can cook doesn't mean you just need to open a whole grand restaurant.
A lot of people can cook, but can they keep up a kitchen?
Keep up the kitchen and teach everybody else to do the same thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, and that's something that I've learned, and I explain it now because I got into hospitality consulting, and so what I explain now to people is it is a huge hospitality is the only field where it's a spirit. Like there's no other field where you go into that encompasses a spirit. You can go be a nurse, but nursing isn't a spirit. You can be a teacher, you can do whatever. Hospitality is something that you are. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you can't teach someone how to care about people. You can teach them how to take orders and all these things, but you can't teach that. And what I've seen a lot in restaurants, just from every single one, you have two kinds of people in every business. You have people who have the spirit of hospitality, mm-hmm. and you have people who care about the business of hospitality. Mm-hmm. It's rare that you have that's the same person. But restaurants, and it's like, but you need both to survive in the building. Perfect example, when we worked at Barcelona, they always had plenty of managers on the floor, and it was one manager where I could not understand why they hired him. But after peeping him out for a little while, I was like, you need people like him in this building. Mm. It was Brad.
Oh, okay.
Remember, right with the
yeah.
I didn't understand because I was like, he's such a numbers guy. I saw a server. It was a busy Saturday night. I literally saw a server back, and she was like a back server assistant. She tripped and fell and dropped a tray of drinks in the main dining room. You know, that's busy, so it's a lot going on. This man was walking a table to the PDR, so he had to go through. Do you know that he stepped over this girl and said, "Come on, y'all."
Oh my God.
And we're all looking like, girl, get up, girl, get up.
That sounds like behavior that would come from. Yeah. Wow.
And he's looking at her like you better not be here when I get back.
You better not be here.
You better not be here when I get back. But as weird as it was, after having one-on-one talks with him, you know, about whatever I needed, I said he cares, but he's a numbers guy. Mm-hmm. He's a money guy. And in restaurants, you can't just have all people. You would want to have people who have the spirit of hospitality, because that means that everyone's going to be concerned with everyone being taken care of. But you also need somebody who just looks at the numbers. Mm-hmm. You need somebody who's going to hop over that person laying there covered in drinks because they got a 6-top to sit, and we got a 2-hour wait on the door.
There should be no tables.
It should be no tables
in this restaurant right now.
You know, but and I say Brad because Brad was that dynamic, but then we also had another manager like Mike Gleason, who was a manager that we had, and I literally, now he was not the most knowledgeable about a lot of things, but he taught me how to get away with things because I never learned the wine list at Barcelona.
Okay.
Mike taught me if you learn a region and you learn the flavor profile of that region, you can describe any wine.
Yes.
And I said, wait a second, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I remember, and like for him, for example, I saw him as a manager just put on like a food runner's coat one time or apron. He just grabbed because we were shorthanded. And he was like, we have no back right now. Yeah. I'm going to have to back all of this. So putting all the manager stuff, was like, he put on the apron. I don't know if you remember that night. And he was like, everyone's back server. Best back server we ever had.
Sounds familiar. But, yeah.
You know, you need managers that have that spirit of hospitality like he had, but you need people that care about that numbers. And I think a lot of places now fill their doors up with people who only care about the business side of it. It's just like you have people, like, remember like for a while, all these people were trying to open churches. They were like, oh, okay, I see this pastor's doing really well. Like, they got this flock over here. Let me go ahead and open this up. God gave me word, too. Yeah. I can go ahead and do this and get the same thing back. And I think that's kind of how restaurants are with the same. It's like, oh, I see the success of this. Like, you may say, look at Busy Bees, an establishment, which is hard for, you know, a Black-owned restaurant specifically in that community to last that long.
True.
So you may say, all right, cool. If I up it just a little bit, put lamb chops on the menu and douse some stuff in Hennessy or whatever.
Please don't.
Jerk it up. You know how we do. So if I do that and, you know, I'm charging twice the price, I can get that same crowd. I think that's kind of what Pascal's did. But remember, you had old school Pascals, and then this is the newer Pascals. But it's like they upgraded and they did attract a different crowd, but they lost a lot of people too. Yeah. Because it was like, let's take it up a notch. And some people were like, we kind of want it. So I think now restaurants are like, well, how do we make our money, especially Black restaurants? How do we make our money while staying in touch with people?
Yeah.
And still trying to keep things exclusive. Because one thing about Atlanta, this restaurant industry is completely different from, I guess, I haven't worked every other place, but I feel like it's very different because of what it takes to keep doors open any place here. You have to know the right people. You have to have the right drinks. You have to, you know, and all these things come with time. But do you feel like the restaurants here have kind of taken on this like template of this is what we got to do to have a restaurant here? Like,
I guess the new ones coming out, yes and no. You see a few people that are kind of changing and moving into that decent dining kind of aspect, or they're a spin-off of something else. I feel like if there was a template, it's a template for Black-owned restaurants. Like, there seems to be a template for that where you offer some sort of like brunch all day situation, a really expensive lobster dish, or you throw lobster into mac and cheese, and then you have this grandiose like cocktail, like there it's always the wow factor. And I think that now the template for restaurants is uh people that dine with their eyes first. So you want to have this uh immaculate environment. You want to have great ambiance. You want to have picturesque places and photographable places. The bathroom has to be this, that, and the third. So it's like we take away from the, I guess, the aspect of actually giving people good food first, and making sure that the aesthetic is there. But I don't think we are following a template anymore. I think a lot of people are right now are opening things that they feel are necessary, um, uh, and kind of doing their own thing. And I just hope that smaller businesses like that can thrive in the places that they want to, because the city just feels really saturated right now, and rent is ridiculous, and rent is ridiculous, and some of the places that people want to be, like, they want to charge so much, and that's kind of why businesses don't work that way. Like, I have one of the barbecue places just closed in my neighborhood, mostly because of the construction that's been happening. So it's you never know when something unfortunate like that can hinder your business, even if you've been doing something good. But I don't know, it's just, yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah, I know this. They shut down this corner store by my grandma's house over by Mays, like the Collier Heights area, and they turned into this like Jamaican spot. And I got a job up there, and it was like this celebrity chef, and I was like, it's terrible, hate working with him. But they decided to offer brunch, and the interesting part about them opening brunch was that it was right across the street from the Beautiful.
Oh,
because that's the neighbor. See what I'm saying? So, all right. So so it was right across the street from the Beautiful. He had like Big Daddy's right there. So it was, it's this older guy that lived in the neighborhood. He came in and he was like, I want to support you all. You're new to the neighborhood. You said you're offered brunch. I'll come in and sit down, read the paper, get some brunch, cup of coffee. And they had no coffee. I was like, what do you mean no coffee? Like, it's a brunch spot. How do we not have coffee? Like, what am I supposed to tell this man? Like, he just wanted to get some grits, like some basic stuff, and coffee that goes with it. They were like, he don't want a cocktail or nothing. Everybody don't want cocktails at 11:30 in the morning. Why y'all trying to get everybody drunk all the time? That's all Atlanta. It's drinks everywhere. Mimosa tower after mimosa tower. I don't want to drink till my liver fall out. Like, just give the man a cup of coffee. And I said, see, you're losing business because he's never gonna come back, because you know what he gonna do? He gonna go right across the street to the Beautiful like he been doing for the last 54 years,
exactly,
and get his cup of coffee with
he
his
tried
breath.
To be nice to you all, to try you out because you're in the neighborhood. And I feel that so much. I think restaurants that are closed at least three times a week and open, like, you don't always have to serve alcohol to make money. Yes, it makes you money, but if you have good, like that Busy Bees, perfect example. That is decent dining. That is a James Beard nominated and winning restaurant that has been doing decent dining for what, 75, 80 years?
Generations.
Yeah. And the only thing you can't do in there is eat. Like, you have to take your food out, right?
No, you can eat it. Last time I went, you could eat in there. But I know, okay. I don't know how. I haven't been like 10 years.
Okay, so I know after 2020, like 2021, they only did takeout.
Like a lot of places did.
Like a lot of did, but they did it for a long time. And what just happened recently? Tyler, the Creator, just popped up over there recently. Like, that place is never going anywhere. It's an established place that's been doing what that community needs.
Absolutely.
And you like you have restaurants that open in communities that probably can't afford that kind of, can afford that style, that decent dining, but like opening a big extravagant restaurant in the middle of the hood, like, you
get what you're gonna get.
You get what you're gonna get, and a lot of people are gonna, be hesitant of going over there or not be able to spend because they can't afford it. So you just have to be smart with what you're doing. Just be smart.
Yeah, I think someone who was really smart with that concept and saw like a need was like Slutty Vegan. I still have never had it just because I just don't eat vegan, or I don't eat burgers like that either. But I think what they did was very smart. Like growing up in that community, it was like this is something over here. But we also had what's the vegan spots down the street? Not Viva La Vegan. No, Viva La Vegan is down there. Tassili's.
Oh,
all those
reality.
things are in
Yeah.
the same area. So it's like, so I remember people like, well, I've been going to Tassili's for years. Why would I go to Slutty Vegan? It's like, well, they got a burger.
Like,
And it was enough hype behind it.
Very different things too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? But it was like, I remember like when they said it was opening, a lot of people were like, why would I go
But you
here
also
when
have
I got
soul
this
vegetarians
you have
over there too. Yeah.
West End is one of the few black areas where you have vegan options for black people. Up and down Cascade.
Some of the first kind
That's
of vegan options I would see in the city. Yeah, because I lived in Adair Park for so long, and soul vegetarian. I didn't get introduced to Silly Raw Reality until like during the pandemic when a lot of the reps would bring lunch to us and be in the West End. Like one guy lived in the West End. He's like, "Have you ever had this?" And I'm like, "You call this a what? A punani? What is this called?"
Yeah, the Mandingo wrap.
The Mandingo
I was like,
wrap. I'm like, this is wild, and it's so good for you. Like
it's amazing.
It's so good. Like it's yeah. We that's it. Decent dining. Like just doing it right, making sure people can come back. That's it. Like you want places like that to go on forever. I actually think Tassili's is about to open another spot.
They need to.
I think they have a second location opening soon. But that's just kind of what we need. You want like neighborhood places that people can support because you support them. So shout out to them.
Absolutely. Do you feel, I know 2020 was a rough year for restaurants, just all the pandemic was a rough year for every industry.
Yeah.
But I know, like you said, like after 2020, like with Busy Bee, a lot of people switched to counter service that were doing, sit down. And a lot of restaurants had to bounce back from that or like figure it out.
Yeah.
Was that a hard time for you trying to figure out your place in the industry, or did you just feel like, all right, maybe I need to like get this like full throttle and like, go even harder for this?
I think 2020 was interesting for my field because we were still essential. So there wasn't a day that we closed. And the one thing that people are going to do in a pandemic is drink. So I tell people I had a very different experience because, like somebody like my wife who worked in a restaurant, she was at home and she didn't work for months. And here I am going to work every day, still having my 2 days off. And nothing felt different for me besides seeing, the same amount of people coming in. Like the communication we had with the rest of the world was different, and a lot of online orders and just a lot of pickup. But I was still working, so it wasn't anything different. We sold a lot of wine during that time, and but I also saw a lot of my friends like not have anywhere to work, like, or their restaurants closed. So it was a really rough time for that and trying to find their ways and watching them pivot to do something else. And a lot of people left the industry altogether, but it was a very interesting time. Yeah.
And you're still here though. I mean, like you said, I remember like no liquor store was ever closed. And I mean, you worked in a wine shop. So I'm pretty sure you were like, oh.
They come in, they're like, I need a bottle of wine for tonight. And I give them a couple options. They're like, I'll take them all. And it was just that. They couldn't walk into the store more than, 10 feet. And we just served wine just like that. We had to find ways to connect with our guests. So we started doing like videos for the wine store. We did a we did a set of videos called "So Are We" because a lot of people were doing to go. So we would get to go food from some of my favorite restaurants, and then we'd pair wines with it, and then sell the wines for anyone who wanted to do it. So it ended up working out for both parties because they were selling meals, and then they would come and watch. They would come buy the wine to pair. Most of the people ate with the family, or maybe they had just one loved one. But they would just have these meals with us, and we would, sit and chit chat, and people would, put in comments. So it was fun. So we had to find another avenue to like connect with guests. and social media worked for us a lot. So
I think you're really good when it comes to like connecting and like bridging those gaps with like restaurant and like wine. Like that's I don't think people realize how important that is. Like, but you're great at that, and I know that you're also so great at teaching about wine. I've been in a couple of your wine classes.
mm-hmm.
I saw when you did one at Serena.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but do you see yourself continuing with teaching wine? Do you plan
Yes.
on that?
I'll always be a teacher. I always say I want people to be as comfortable with wine as I am, and I just want people to feel good when they walk into a restaurant or walk into a wine store. But as much as if I'm continuing to learn more, I want to you want to share that information with others. Um, I have a love for blind tasting, so for those, essentially part of your certification when you're studying for like WSET or you're studying for the Court of Master Somm is blind tasting. So someone pouring wine into a glass and you have to figure out where it's from, what the grape is, maybe the vintage, the ageability of the wine. So that is a part of this industry that I love the most. So I teach that a lot. And I also use that as a catalyst to teach other wine classes. So it allows me to connect with the one part about wine that I like the most, but still being able to, translate or, give people the information that they want. So it's like a win-win for both of us. So I use that's my teaching method, and I love it. So I'll continue to do it for sure.
What advice would you give someone? Like I know some people get into this field and they know what they want to do. Some people are just like I'm figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone that's younger and just kind of figuring their life out in this industry? Like, would you say, hey, maybe look into some wine classes or look into working in back of house or like because there's a lot of opportunities here. But I think sometimes people just don't know where to start. So,
Yeah.
what would you say? Like, all right, go here.
Yeah. I mean, I guess starting in a starting in a restaurant, I would think you have to be at least 18 nowadays, right? 16, 18, I don't know. But it just depends on if that restaurant sells alcohol or not. Hospitality is a great way to figure things out with. And you definitely hear about people that have second careers, but also moonlight in restaurants, which that could totally happen for you or for anyone. Or you could use hospitality to maybe lead you to a path that is adjacent. So I know for a lot of people working in the restaurants, they'll go into maybe an alcohol rep, someone who sells alcohol or wine to other places. Maybe you find a job as, if you're into journalism as a wine or a food writer. Um, Having those connections also help as well. Like working in the wine store has helped with the connections across kind of the world with winemakers and wine growers. Um, but I guess just it's not just a place where you can clock in and make some money and go home, but use it to figure out if there is some other aspect uh, of this industry that better fits. You know, you never know. Maybe you've been a server and you realize that, oh, I think I want to be a chef, and you start working in the kitchen. I know a lot of people that did that. So use it to find your passion or find a new discovery about yourself.
Cross train.
Cross train yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that was something that when I decided I wanted to make the transition in the back of house and I was serving and I was like, I asked the chef, like, hey, can I start expoing just to start, just so I can start working on that middle part? Because I wanted to learn I wanted to work every single part in the restaurant, both front of house and back of house.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, cool. He would pull me off the floor for serving chips, like, or if he had something to do, he was like, what? You can come be an expo right now. Yeah. And so things like that, it's like, it's always so much room to grow. Like, and people just will say, oh, I'm a server. It's nothing else for me. You can, like you said, you become a food writer or You can take just even the hustle that you get here into any other field, I think, and do very well. You can take the patience that you, and the empathy that that you have to show and exhibit here. You can take that and do well in healthcare, in law, and anything.
Yep, helps you with time management. Getting tasks done. I mean, I think patience is probably the biggest one for me. But just being kind, and that's it. Being knowledgeable about food, like it feels really good when you can go into any kind of restaurant and kind of understand what they have to offer, and feel confident ordering for a group, or if you go on to work in corporate field where you have to go to a lot of dinners, and I know a lot of people want to be knowledgeable when they order the wine and try to impress people. So it helps with that as well.
Pronunciation.
Yes. The pronunciations of things. Yes.
Can I get a Cabernet?
Yes.
You may not, but you can have some Cabernet.
Yes, you can. That's so fun.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get a carafe of wine? You mean a carafe?
A carafe. I remember there's one, I was opening a restaurant in Alabama, and they put haricot vert on the menu. And that is not what I said.
I know they butchered that.
That is not what I said at first, and definitely not what any of the servers said at first. And I just had that moment of, man, maybe I haven't worked in this industry as much as I needed to be. Like, haricot vert. Those are green beans, by the way. Haricot vert. I did not. Yeah, no one. People, and this is in the South, so you got to put green beans on there. Like, but they wanted to kind of be upscale, so there it is.
It's like, all right, cool. I think like as a culture, I think we're just now starting to accept things like aioli. So it's baby steps.
Small things,
but we're getting there. I'm very proud of the progression that we've made as a culture. Just not just working in the industry, but also going to places and knowing a little something. So
trying new things. Like I know the black faces that come into the wine store and come in looking for wine, that know what they're talking about or want to talk about wine. Like, I love that. And that's one reason why I'm in this industry, is so I can influence someone else who looks like me to do the same thing. Yeah. And I think when you get into any industry and you love it that much, you start to realize, like, you start to kind of recruit people to come into your world, And so meeting people who are like, this is what I want to do, and I want to learn more, and this and that. Like, I love that. And it's what we need. Because I think the future of beverage is definitely black, but it would be great if the future of restaurants would be the same thing. Yeah. It would be really great to see, a black-owned restaurant be as successful as any other, Michelin or James Beard nominated or anything. And there's no reason why we couldn't.
Absolutely not. I think even like when we talk about hospitality, as far as hotels are concerned, like black people, I think we represent maybe 1% of like all ownership and all management. It's between 1 and 3, but it's very low. It's extremely low for the amount of black people who work in these fields. Wow. Like we're not being, and it's not, I don't think it's that we're not getting the chances. I think we are, but I think it's trying to, like I said, keep up. It's like you got to start at the ground roots. Mm-hmm. Like if Busy Bee we keep going back to that because I think they just don't know. So if they were to open a 5-star restaurant right now, they'd still have a line out the door.
They would. What would a 5-star Busy Bee serve?
The same thing they serve now, just really? On fancier place. I mean, it's just like the 24-hour when it was 24-hour Chick-fil-A. Remember, you could go in there and get like black eyed peas and fried chicken.
Oh, yeah, the Dwarf House.
Yeah, remember you could go and it was like, wait, I can sit down at Chick-fil-A and get soul food.
Yeah, that's true.
And they have.
I've never been inside that Dwarf House.
Whoa, well, they redid it now, so it's not the same as it was before. Oh. Well, you go like 3 a.m, it's like whatever side y'all got. I was like, I never knew you could just get whole pieces of fried, like a whole dinner. It's like a soul plate. Wow. And they have a waitress and they come and she take care of you. And
I've been to Truett's, which is in
Riverdale, right?
Jonesboro.
Is that the Hawaiian one?
No, that's in Fayetteville.
Okay.
So
all right.
I've been to that one. I only did the drive-through, and I think we waited in the drive-through for like 45 minutes. This is when it was like big on TikTok, and they were like, "There's a Hawaiian Chick-fil-A." So of course we had to go figure it out. And I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't a fan. It was fine. I didn't go inside. Would I drive back for it? No. But the new Chick-fil-A on Ponce,
The two-story.
I'm going
over there tonight. Actually,
I feel like you can throw a party in there. Like you can actually rent space in this Chick-fil-A and have a situation.
Have a little litigation.
Have a little situation. I don't know. No alcohol though.
I mean, it's Chick-fil-A.
It's Chick-fil-A. They still love God and
still close on Sunday.
Still close on Sunday. So no, but like I'm like, this is massive. Like how much Chick-fil-A how much can you
because it's another
Chick-fil-A
one right down the
you
street.
need?
It's another one right there. And,
like normal Chick-fil-A, but like why is this one 2 stories?
They shut Dugan's down for that Chick-fil-A. Wow. I'm still hurt about Dugan's leaving. But that was like places like this, it's just like, decent dining, but once other things got into, I mean, like once you got Ponce City Market, you still got Claremont Lounge there, you got MJQ, Friends, Local, you have so many things around Dugan's. And I'm not gonna lie, this Dugan's over here was cool, but the one on the south side, that was the best one.
Yeah.
The one on Old National?
Yeah.
That was because over there.
Is that the first one?
I don't know either. It's the best one.
I've been to that one. That Dugan's is solid.
Exactly. But they understood what that area needed. Yeah. I feel like this Dugan's it was like, y'all were going to have to switch the game up.
But like, again, outside of the city, there are plenty of neighborhoods just like that people want to be able to stay in and they don't want to have to travel to go anywhere. Like, that's what we need more of. We need more people that kind of care about the community that they actually live in instead of trying to be a part of the bigger situation, which would be in the city. Like your Snellvilles and your Stone Mountains and, Tucker, like go out there and open something because you're going to have the force, the neighborhood around you, I mean, I just saw on Twitter they just turned Crew just opened another spot, but it's in like an old Miss Winters. I think it's I don't know if it's one on the south side. Have a drive-through?
No, Crew Lounge.
No, I know.
Yeah, but
in a Mrs. Winters.
It's. I promise you, the picture is, and everyone was like, "Wait, what did I just drive by? Like, what is this?" But I'm like, I hope it does well.
Also, a chain that like is very successful. There's crews everywhere.
There's crews everywhere.
I did not realize how successful Crew was.
I think the market now is when it comes to Black people, if you got hookah and a grass wall and some decent shots and a DJ, the food don't even have to be bomb. I've never had their food, so I can't testify to that. Yeah. But the food don't even have to be good. If it's dark in there and the right music is playing, people will That's it. People will literally go. If it's a neighborhood spot, like I love all places on Ponce and Edgewood. It's just my thing. But like our bar, for example, is like one of those places. Like you can go, you can drink in there, you can smoke in there. They have like a resident chef now, so he has a kitchen, so you have that option. Mm-hmm. But it's like they have never tried to like be something that they're not. Mm-hmm. So it's like you come here and you're gonna get what you're gonna get. Yeah. And you got places like Noni's that had to shut down, which is a few doors down. And it's like, wait, I thought they were doing bomb too. I go in there and dance at night, get pasta in the day. Like, what is that's what it was. So it's like, wait, okay, so what is the formula now? But it's, I'm pretty sure if Noni's was to go like outside the city, I'm pretty sure they do great in somewhere like Smyrna. I could totally see that being because Smyrna's known for having those little shops. Exactly.
Like we need to start treating the small suburbs the same way. Like, that's what we need.
Yeah, we don't need more places that charge $50 a plate on this side of town. Not right now.
Need any of that.
And I'm not and that's one thing that I hate when places do. Being from the west side of Atlanta, like I grew up, and I always tell people we did not have any food options outside of the Miss Windows by Greenbrier and the Piccadilly. I grew up over there before it was Camp Creek. But Camp Creek was just woods. So we didn't have any of these options. So it was like, if we wanted anything dining-wise, we went to Old National when it was actually like, when the Red Lobster and stuff was there. It was like, those are our options. Or Buckhead if we feeling real fancy.
Wow.
Got a little money to spend, or we would go to Pascals or things like that.
Yeah.
But we did not have as many options. Now, we do have more options because of like gentrification and all these things. Like I just moved from the same part of Deer Park you were in. And it's like the Beltline being right there. It's like, wait, I could just walk up here to, these breweries. I can walk up to all this and I have this, it's all accessible now, but I think it's wrong that the people that lived in those neighborhoods typically can't really afford to indulge in those things every single day.
Exactly.
Like they built a coffee house, like, and I'm not gonna say the name, but it's a pretty popular spot. It's right next to the train tracks, right there in the Deer Park. And I was like, cool, I wanted to go, have a meeting up there. And I looked on the website, and mind you, it looks like a regular coffee house, but they're like, it's a subscription. You have to do like a monthly thing and this and that. I'm like, this neighborhood we don't need this over here. I'm right here on the Beltline. You mean to tell me it's a coffee shop 2 streets up from me? I can't just tell people to walk up here and meet me at the coffee shop because I have to have a
membership to go into the coffee shop. That's new.
Because they had that, and then Switch Yards.
Yeah.
They opened in Deer Park one too. So they were like right down the street. I'm like, everything around here is a membership.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, I see Switch Yards as more of a
that's a workspace.
Kind of like so people rent that, but like, I mean, the whole members only thing is becoming more of a thing now. There's a lot of like private wine clubs, private dining places that are popping up, and they're popping up in the right areas to connect to some of that like corporate business, and people just want somewhere to spend their money. That's it. And they want to have the exclusive showy vibe that, they can show their guests. So
which and I get it. I think from a business side, I completely understand that things have to change, times have to change. But like growing up in like old Atlanta, it did not take so much for any of it wasn't, when people always say like, why can't we get that old spirit back of, like everyone was, all together, we were all in the same places, it was, it wasn't, no one was too bougie, it was just all just having a good time. And I think now that exclusivity is just broken everything up because everyone wants to go somewhere exclusive. If no one is like before, it's like 10 years ago, it's like I want to go where everybody go. I don't really need to go to VIP. I want to be on the dance. Now I don't want to go to a spot if certain people are going to be there. I don't want to go here if someone who doesn't even who's not even in my tax bracket is going to be there. I know for me personally, like I said, I don't go places where they have hookah. I also don't go places where they got a bunch of young niggas with ski masks on because that's not what that's
not where I go.
That's not me. But back in 10 years ago, you couldn't keep me off of Edgewood away from them. Yeah. It's just,
Yeah. But nowadays it just feels different, and you've gone through it. I think now we have more people in the city that we're trying to impress, that have more money, that are coming in from these different industries, and people coming from the West Coast and setting up shop in the movie industry. So there's definitely more people now that are trying to bring that influence in, and we're trying to impress those folks, we'll say. But yeah, there's still a lot of the majority of the city that just wants to be able to go somewhere where they can hang out without any problems.
Which is, like I said, I'm not against no problems because I love no problems.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, you have so many places. And I think restaurants, like I said, are starting to get into that too. It's like, this might have to be a members only thing just so that we can keep this clientele up. It's like, we want to attract people that don't mind spending this amount of money. And it's just certain things that they're not going to accept in this area. And it's like, it sucks. But then, what are you going to do in that situation? Just welcome everybody in, because then you run the risk of your staff not being paid or you not being able. It's just like with the whole gratuity thing now, where places are adding the gratuity, and so many people have an issue with that. But I'm like, I see both parts where a restaurant doesn't want to, and I've learned it's not that restaurants can't afford to pay people. It's just that because of the tipping credit, and it's a law, like they choose to not pay people more. Since I've been up in New York, I did not know this. I did not know that. Well, I knew what minimum wage here for servers and bartenders was. It's $2.13 an hour. We all know that. People are like, why would you sign up to make that? Look, if you don't understand tipping culture, that's your problem. But people can live off of that. But after going to New York, and coming back here, I would never work in another restaurant as a server or a bartender. Like, I already knew that before, once I got into management, that I would never really want to go back unless it was a necessity. But one of the biggest reasons is because up north, they pay $10.65 an hour plus your tips.
Wow.
5 times more than what restaurants here will pay you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I was this many years old when I found out I was getting scammed. Yeah. Like, I did, you know, so stuff like that is like, we want to keep
a cost of living difference too, but like, wow, that's a
5, and this is for like your average place.
Yeah.
Your average, you're not talking about, I mean, the place that I was going to get a job, it was like right on the Hudson River, but it was like, that was standard for places up there. They're like $213. Nah, we don't, you know.
Wow, that's crazy.
But see, even with like the South and things like that, it's just like you learn, like here, the South gets away with a lot more things as far as hospitality and service goes, because a lot of people haven't gone around specifically in these industries and like share that knowledge. It's like, you should be making more than $213.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it comes down to how good of a job you end up doing, and how much you put into the learning and the training, and you get out what you know, essentially you are in control of the tips that you get. So making sure you know everything. Hopefully the kitchen is on your side that day. The bartenders are on your side that day. Like, there's a lot, but man, making that kind of money, man.
See, look,
that the money
blown, right?
It's crazy. Like, it's crazy how much money servers, especially back in like, this is like early 2010s. Like,
yeah, we were making a lot of money.
A lot of money.
A
lot of money. And I'd say, like, if you are in the industry and you are like making that kind of money, and you know it, if you are, like, save some of it. You're going to make it back again. Put some of it away. Like, we always had that mentality of, oh, I'm just going to make it back tomorrow. I'm going to make it back tomorrow. And
it might be cold tomorrow, baby. And ain't nobody gonna come out and spend that money again. So you're going to have to wait till it get back hot. You never know.
And now it's like, it's been a hard year all around for everyone. The economy has just been not great. Inflation's high. People aren't spending the same amount of money going out. Yeah. You want to try to remember to take care of people. But like the whole tipping thing, restaurants is where I stay with that. Coffee shops, things like that, yes. But like going to self-checkout and then there's a tip thing there, no.
Why is there a tip jar right here?
There's what? Or some of the smoke shops that I go to.
Why is there a tip jar right here?
I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like, someone asked us to put tipping on our system, and we like refuse to do it because we're a retail store. Like, we sell wine. That's what we do. That's first and foremost. Yeah, we do tastings, but that it's just a part of this store. That is how this store works. And so it just doesn't make any sense for us to do it, and we want to keep everybody happy, keep people coming back. So,
and see, that's how you keep people. I mean, it's not to say that I'm just a firm believer in tipping. Like, and I think what I've learned about tipping is that it's cultural. Mm-hmm. Like, tipping, if you did not grow up around, and I don't even want to say if you didn't grow up around it, because some people are just from countries where they just don't do it at all. Like, someone from Europe is not going to tip you for the most part. Because the entire culture is different. Someone from India or Asia may not tip you because to them it's like the service is like, you're serving me. Like, this should be a part of it. This is
why you're here.
But but here this is an exchange. Yeah. Like, you have to, and I feel like growing up for me, I had a family of servers. Every woman in my family was a server at some point. That's why I decided to get into it right out of high school. I was like, I know this. Yeah. I grew up in restaurants. I can do this, and I accepted that. But some people will go into a restaurant and will say, hey, they have like a wine steward and they have all these things, and I'm still going to tip them $5 on $100. It's like, no, you do understand that every moving part here has to make money. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people, when you're going out, make sure that when you add up the cost for your experience, make sure that what's included in that experience, it's not just an experience for you, it's for the experience for the person serving you. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that they have a good experience as well, which means that they're going to, if I'm on the clock, yeah, we can laugh all day. But my idea of a good experience is making money.
Yeah.
So if you want to, you love me so much, myself, make sure I got paid. Don't just put a smiley face on my receipt and say you did awesome. Get out of my face, please. I love you. Thank you so much. But next time, I'm gonna need,
I'm gonna need that 20%.
I'm gonna need that 20%.
I'm gonna need that 20 to 22%.
Heard. So I feel like that's pretty. I think we covered a lot.
Nice.
Is there any last words that you kind of want to throw out? Any shameless plugs you want to throw in there for some you got?
No. We don't have anything going on. No. Just that's it. Be confident in your choices. You never learn anything. I tell people this when they go to wine tastings. They're like, "Oh, I went to this wine tasting. They had 30 wines, and I got so drunk." And I'm like, "Yeah, you don't learn anything if you drink all the wine. If you want to learn about wine, take it in little by little. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's never any stupid questions ever, and just have fun. That's it."
And where can people reach you? In case they want to. First of all, when I say can people reach you with, Janeen's always willing to, give advice or things, but don't hit her up.
Very accessible. Yeah, no.
It's just, if you
don't just text me. My number is on the business cards, so I give them out all the time. I'm in Inman Park. If you ever want to come down to visit Vinoteca, I work at a lovely retail wine store that is next door to Little Spirit, another small business, and Bill Hallman. And we do tastings every day. So you can come down and try 3 wines very casually and hang out. We have music on the weekends. What else do we, special events. We can host private events as well. We are Shop Vinoteca on Instagram. Same for website, shopvinoteca.com. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you for responding when I reached out, because I was like, oh Lord, I don't know if this is gonna work. But like I said, your expertise is always just so welcome, because a lot of people don't know a lot about what what you're skilled in. So I hope that more people will have a desire to pursue this, and that you would be someone that would be the inspiration for that, because you know your stuff.
That's what it's about, honestly. Like I just want to have a village of Black faces that know how to describe Pinot Noir and know where it comes from, and that's it. That's all.
And just a little side note before we go, if you ever go into a restaurant or any type of hospitality setting, I'm not saying always just look for the Black person and spot them out, but being Black, it does help. Like, I think representation is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. So, if you go into these places and, it doesn't hurt to look for, don't feel bad for going into place and saying, like, if you go into Vinoteca, I know the staff, so I wouldn't really be intimidated. But if you go into a place like Vinoteca, just look for, or if you go into a fine dining restaurant, and it's like, this may be a little overwhelming, don't be afraid to ask the person that looks like you for help, because that's really what we're in those spaces for. Mm-hmm. So, we don't want you all to look. Trust me, I have gotten it enough going to places and they're like, oh, they're Black, I don't want them. It's like, always. I'll take them. We always get that. Like, yes. Oh, you want that Black table? I know they ain't gonna tip. They gonna ask questions. Nope, it's all this and that. Cool.
I am ready for it, because I listen. And it's not even that. Like, I think it's more of having someone who looks familiar to understand, like, what's going on. It's not about the expectation of what they're going to order or what they may or may not tip. It's knowing that I look like them. I'm going to make them feel comfortable, and I'm going to make this part of my job as easy as possible. And I would ask all sorts of questions. How do you want that? What do you want me to bring when your food comes out? What do you want to make sure you have? Like, that's really it, Kind
of like with your coffee. I say, how to rice? I'm a soy.
I know.
It's like, I don't want to get it wrong.
It's totally fine. Executive decision was made. It's perfect.
Heard. So thank you again, my love. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I hope that this episode goes very well.
Yep.
And you are more than welcome to follow the social media for this. It is at the Southern Hospitality on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. So thank you so much, and see you all next time.
See ya.
Thank you. Yay!